Righto. Welcome to tonight's council meeting. Councillors, officers and general public. I'll start with acknowledgement of country. To start the official proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Jara country, of which the members and elders of the Jara community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region. Council meetings are audio and video recorded and are made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Everybody is present, so we have no apologies or leave of absence. Declarations of interest and conflicts. Councillor McClure.
Mayor, I have a general conflict of interest with item 9.2.1, awarding of the contract for the Castlemaine meeting.
Righto, thank you. Anybody else? Right. Which takes us to public question time. Would someone like to move? Oh, sorry. I'll step ahead of myself. Confirmation of minutes of 21st of June 2022. Councillor Henderson, moved.
Move that they accept it. Content.
Moved, seconded Councillor Nia. Any questions? All in favour? Carried. That takes us to public question time. We do have somebody would like to suspend standing orders. Councillor Gardner, seconded. Councillor Cordy, in favour? All carried. We have one written question, and then I'll ask the public if they have any questions to ask. Councillor Nia. Oh, Councillor Gardner, sorry.
I'm going to read it. Thank you for your copy. So this is a question from Malcolm Mars. With reference to the Froomes Road Bridge, Castlemaine, can Council please advise the following? Why has Council not publicly released a report by Pitt and Cherry Engineers dated 4th of June 2021, which identifies that the existing bridge can be rehabilitated, strengthened for an indicative cost of $550,000 to provide an additional 40 years of service life at the current load limit of 30 tonnes? Question 2. Why has Council only budgeted the sum of $218,000 for minor works to the bridge in 2022-2023, rather than make provision for the $550,000 recommended by Pitt and Cherry to rehabilitate and strengthen the bridge? Question 3. How is the budget amount of $218,000 calculated, and what do the intended minor works compromise? Question 4. Why has the speed limit in Froomes Road and Mary Street not been reduced to 50 kilometres an hour, as recommended in 2 separate independent reports by Traffic Works dated 19th of August 2020 and by Quantum Traffic dated 24th of November 2020, respectively? Question 5. Given the current 30-tonne vehicle limit, can Council please confirm if it agrees with and stands by the advice it received from the CFA, which was reported in the minutes of the meeting on 23rd April 2021, that CFA District 2 has advised that CFA tankers are currently unable to access the Froomes Road Bridge due to width and load restrictions? Question 6. Can Council please guarantee or publicly release in full the independent consultants' report into the future of the bridge and surrounding areas, and when does it expect this to take place? And the final question, number 7, can Council please guarantee it will publicly release the results of current traffic counting on Froomes Road and Richmond Road, and when does it expect this to take place?
Thanks, Councillor Gardner. Director O'Neill, I think that's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank Mr. Mars for his interest in the work that's underway to identify the future options for the Froomes Road Bridge. All of the questions that have been posed today have also been discussed within the community consultation process that's underway. which offers community members an opportunity to share their opinions, ideas and considerations for the bridge that will be taken into account at future decisions undertaken by councillors. With regard to the various technical reports listed in the 7 questions posed by Mr. Mars, it is not practice to release individual technical reports. Rather, council officers reference reports in the presentation of recommendations made to councillors to assist in their decision process. Regarding the allocation of $217,715 in the 2022-2023 budget, this amount was calculated based on the maintenance requirements to address the immediate needs as determined by council officers for the period. Regarding the 2 safety issues raised by Mr. Mars, council has made a speed reduction request to the Department of Transport, who, as a responsible authority, will determine the outcome of the request, and council continues to follow up with them on this request. And lastly, council continues to engage with the local and regional branches of the CFA to inform the needs related to the road network for the Froomes Road Bridge. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillors.
Just a question, Mayor. I was wondering, we're currently doing a program of community consultation. When's that likely to wrap up, Director Anand? Thank you.
The final report from the consultant will be delivered this month.
Thank you.
Any other councillor wish to comment on the letters? On the letter?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I guess I'd like to ask if the community consultation is wrapping up at the end of this month. Can I ask what the next step is?
Councillor Henderson, so officers take on board the feedback from the community consultation process, which has had an opportunity for all community members, including business owners, people who access the local reserves and botanical gardens, the road network, etc. That will be combined together with technical reports related to the structural integrity of the bridge, the road traffic network, the environment, and heritage reports for a recommendation that will be presented to council at a later date in this year.
Thank you. So as it stands, we're still not sure when councillors will both consider this report and then eventually presumably will come to a council decision. But that's down the track still.
It will be. It's scheduled before the end of this calendar year, so it's scheduled towards the end of this calendar year.
Righto. Any member of the public wish to ask a question?
I would like to.
And I'll work this lady here first. Just come forward before you start that. Questions of council may be on any matter except if it relates to a matter outside the duties, functions and powers of the council. Is defamatory, indecent, abusive, offensive, irrelevant, trivial or objectionable in language or substance. Is aimed at embarrassing a councillor or a member of council staff, or relates to personal matters, relates to the personal hardship of any resident or ratepayer, relates to industrial matters, relates to contractual matters, and relates to legal advice, relates to planning matter already listed on the council meeting agenda, relates to matters affecting the security of council property, or relates to any other matter which the council considers would prejudice the council or any person. Thank you. Now your name?
Nola Juniper.
Nola Juniper. 3 minutes.
I'm Nola Juniper. I live and have done so all my life in Ellery's Road, Faraday. I'm here with my husband and neighbour to seek clarification as to why the applicant for a truck depot proposed and currently operating without a permit in Ellery's Road, Faraday, has recently been given yet another extension to provide information to the planning department, thus extending the time they may operate without a permit. The council asked them to provide a permit application approximately 1.5 years ago. The business has been operating for years. The trucks from the business pass along approximately 800 metres of our property's border. My family and other objectors to the permit application have expressed many times the concern we have about, firstly, the safety of utilising Allery's Road regularly for large trucks, including B-doubles, and secondly, the extreme wear and tear on the deteriorating gravel road that council, I beg your pardon, has to continuously maintain at ratepayers' expense. Could you please explain why a further extension has been given and why the applicant continues to operate without a permit? Thank you.
Thank you. Director O'Neill.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Jennifer. The extension has been granted to complete the collection of information that's requested by council officers to help put forward a recommendation to councillors, which will be tabled at a future council meeting. So it's a complete request for information, for additional information as to why the extension of time has been granted.
Is there a time?
And that was extended until the end of August to allow them for that to be put forward to councillors in September in the planning objective supported meeting, in which community members will have a chance to present their opinions on the planning matter at that point in time.
Councillor Cordy.
Just a question, Noel, in terms of you currently live in the property, how long have you been there?
All my life. So 64 years.
Thank you.
Any other councillor got any questions?
Oh, sorry, can we just clarify? So the anticipating that it will be coming to the September council meeting, is that right, Mr. O'Neill?
Councillor Haynes, that's correct. That's where we're planning to at the moment, to have it presented to the September council meeting.
So at the September council meeting, there will be a report to the councillors to make a decision.
Before that, there will be, I couldn't object to.
We've already had one. haven't we?
I know, that's right.
Yeah,
We'll be having
and ask.
Yeah, because there's new information presented that will help the council officers make a recommendation on the planning matter. It's scheduled for the planning objective support meeting at the beginning of September, prior to it being presented to council meeting in September.
There were two parts to the question. One was, why do they continue to be allowed to operate without a permit?
So as part of the application process, they're allowed to operate until the decision is made on the planning application.
And I've asked repeatedly for the conditions they can operate under, and no one's been able to give me what their rules are. I'm sorry, is that over my minutes?
No, not yet.
So I'll take that last question on notice, Ms. Jennifer, to follow up on that one.
I've had councillors ask too, and this has been, as I said, a very extended period of time.
All right, well, Director O'Neill will follow the matter up,
Thank you.
but you can be assured that in September, council will make a decision.
Thank you.
Righto. This lady's before you, sir. Sorry about that.
Sorry to keep coming up here, I don't want to, but I feel strongly about some matters on council at the moment. So my name's
name,
Lisa
please.
Hello.
Thank you.
Council engaged consultants to complete engineering reports in 2015 by land management surveys and June 2021 Pit and Cherry. Another report completed by J. Ryan in 2018. Both the 2015 and 2021 reports recommended and confirmed similar maintenance and repairs were required.
I'll just interrupt you, Lisa.
I have got lots of questions.
No, but that is very similar to question one of Mr. Mars.
Yeah, okay.
So we won't.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Confirmed similar maintenance and repairs were required along with the current bridge structure was suitable for a 30-tonne load limit. Let me go, please, Bill. Froomes Road Bridge has not flooded, whereas Walker Street has flooded and been closed a number of times. The bridge at Newstead was meant to be flood-proof. Windsor Bridge in Sydney is an example, built to be flood-proof and sold to the public as significant concerns that in the event of a major flood, the bridge would fail, leaving the residents of Windsor without a safe crossing. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Since the opening of both bridges, they have flooded and been closed several
Your
times.
question,
Yeah, I'm coming. Given both engineering reports highlighted maintenance and remedial work was required and council is concerned about safety regarding the bridge, why did council not act on the 2014 report earlier to complete the required maintenance? Has council intentionally allowed the bridge to deteriorate in order to build a new two-lane bridge? Is council's intention to build a bridge suitable for semi-trailers and B-double trucks to use Froomes Road, Mary Street to access KR Castlemaine and the proposed bioenergy plant? Pitt and Sherry report deck width and barriers confirm the bridge code does allow the relevant authority, council in this case, to determine, to make judgments. Why do council staff continue to reference the code when it appears there is an allowable discretion? The 30-tonne load limit is adequate for the largest fire truck from Bendigo and garbage trucks. Why does the bridge need strengthening and why can't the required maintenance be completed to restore the bridge without strengthening? This will ensure the cost of repairing the bridge is less. If council is concerned about extending the longevity of the bridge, why can't a load limit of 15 tonne be implemented with an exception for emergency vehicles? This would allow the largest fire truck from Bendigo. Has council investigated sourcing heritage funds to undertake the required maintenance work on the bridge? In concluding, councillors from other wards who previously supported demolition of the bridge, could you please reflect on the assets you value in your own ward, which includes heritage and tours into the natural environment, and allow current Castlemaine residents, visitors and future generations to keep and enjoy the same and not be responsible for destroying such a valuable community asset and precinct? For Castlemaine ward councillors elected to represent Castlemaine residents and ratepayers, please listen to the large number of ratepayers and residents who have been extremely clear in their preference to retain and restore the current one-lane bridge. This includes the silent majority. As a community, we are fortunate to have a valuable precinct with extensive heritage, historic,
Thank you, 3 minutes, right?
yeah, flora and fauna and part of our township for the enjoyment by residents of all ages, visitors and to leave for future generations to enjoy this setting. The precinct is worth preserving and protecting, not for the advantage of commuters and truck drivers hoping to shave 20 seconds off their journey with
Thank you.
provision. That's it, I'm finished. Thank you. At
Right,
least it wasn't 8 minutes this time, Bill.
true. And some of your questions are becoming repetitive.
Well, that's the first time I've asked them.
No,
Yeah, that is the first time I've asked
all
them.
right, the CEO is going to, or director in here, which one?
Mayor, I'd just say thank you for the prompting questions. We're in a process of providing information to council for their consideration. We'll pick up on those questions and we'll include those where they're relevant in the assessment the director and year and his team will prepare for the councillors. But we're not going to stand here and answer a series of questions like that. It's not the intention of public question time to do that.
Yeah.
If you want to make sure that those questions are at least considered, we're more than happy to have them sent into the director in here so that his team can look at them and make sure that if they're really pertinent to the question of the council or what do they want to do with that site, we'll make sure that that gets included into the information that gets provided.
They're also very pertinent to the residents too. And the other thing is that we are not likely to get to see the report. We will have to access that under freedom of information again. So we'll get a brief overview of the recommendations. That's all residents will get. And we're actually paying for this report out of our rates.
Righto, thank you. The CEO has given you the response. Councillors, anybody wish to comment? No. This gentleman there is next.
Norman Klein, resident of Elders Road. I don't understand why you guys have let Earls conduct a business for 3 years plus without a permit. There was a major safety issue. We had in Outreach Road, we had a new culvert put in. They're running B-doubles, 60-tonne trucks. The culvert isn't really good enough to take 60-tonne trucks, which it never would have prior to them running a business there. And it's, as Nola said, destroys the road. It's a major safety issue. A B double coming one way and any resident on Ellery's Road going the other way. It's an accident waiting to happen. So why has it taken 3 years to come to a decision?
Well, that's a good question. Councillor, Director Anita, can you put any light on why it's taken 3 years?
Thank you, Mayor. I can confirm that once our council was aware of the issue related to the permit, council requested the owners to submit an application for a permit, and subsequent to that time we have been working towards assessing the permit for many issues, including safety, which you have outlined today. Those issues will be presented to council as I've discussed today in September for a decision, in which the matter will be concluded.
Again, there will be a decision in September to either yes or no, basically. Why the other things have happened over the last 3 years, I can't answer that. And the process is now in place that you will get an answer.
Okay.
Right. Any other councillor wish to comment?
I think it's fair to say that council didn't know about it 3 years ago.
Right. And it's been brought up
Taken a while
and
to
the planning
be brought
department
to their attention.
to our attention. Right. This young lady there. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Your name, thanks.
I'm Alice Matheson and I'm from Brown Street, Castlemaine. I've got a brief question about Froomes Road Bridge. I'm just wondering when council is going to release to the public the environmental impact statement relating to those proposed works by council, and also a heritage impact statement, because I haven't seen any of those. And that's it.
Thank you.
So I was going to say, can we be clear that there seems to be an assumption that the two-road lane bridge is coming? So that was rejected at council. You understand that, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
But it's still one of the recommendations, Stephen.
Well, one. Repeat that. Yeah. Once the decision of council has been made, that's it. It's done. It doesn't come back.
Excellent.
So.
Thank you.
And that's been explained a few times.
That there's not going to be a new two-lane bridge there.
Well, we've had a council decision reject that option.
Right, thanks.
Right. So if that's rejected,
Don't.
okay. All right. Thanks, Bill.
Director Anita.
With regard to the request for the technical reports, it's similar to my earlier answer. It's not normal practice to release technical reports. They're used to help inform councillors make decisions. If I may, the decision that was made by council beforehand was to not proceed with the recommendations of the officers put forward to councillors. So it was a decision, no decision was made with regard to the future of the Froomes Road Bridge at that point in time. Councillors requested that further work be done to explore what is in effect 4 options, not 4 recommendations, 4 options that are at this time being explored. They may or may not be presented to councillors at a future council meeting. It is not confirmed that all 4 options that have been discussed within the community consultation process will go forward. They still need to be assessed and put through the processes to understand their suitability for the needs of the bridge and the traffic network in the community in that area. So no decision to exclude or include any options at this point in time has been taken by councillors, rather a decision not to accept the recommendation put forward at that time.
You understand that?
Yeah, very clear.
Right, so
Thanks.
the officer recommendation was knocked back to build the bridge, the double line bridge, and then councillors directed the planning department, etc., to come up with other options for that area and the bridge. That's the simple fact. All right. Any other member of the public wish to ask a question? Yes, up to them.
Hey everyone,
The name, thanks.
it's Carolyn Nielsen, and thank you for this opportunity. My question is, so I'm a coordinator of the My Home Network, which is a collaboration of community and government organisation community members working closely with council on affordable housing. So my question to council tonight is, and I applaud the notice of motion regarding the review of the bylaw 13, but my question is, it's more an invitation really, that as you know, the My Home Network have a tiny homes working group, and there's a level of expertise and experience in that working group. So I suppose the question is more the invitation, if councillors if you do in consensus want to review bylaw 13, we're inviting you to meet with us, and we'd like it to be a cross council discussion with local laws and planners regarding emerging concerns or barriers to progressing, I suppose, the bylaw 13 and its implications around mobile homes. So
your question is, do any councillor wish to participate?
yeah, well, I suppose it's more than that, Bill. We're saying not just councillors, the My Home Network would welcome an opportunity to talk with local laws and planners and director of infrastructure regarding what the concerns and barriers are to progressing the conversation.
Yeah. As you know, one of the priorities of this council is housing.
Yep.
And I'm sure that there will be further contact and discussion with your organisation as well as others.
Yeah. Yeah, is that so? That's representative of all councillors here tonight.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Any other question? All right. Thank you very much. Yes, you can, Councillor Driscoll. Sorry.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Kaz. I also actually like to support that. I think Kaz's organisation, My Home Network, is doing a great job. I think the information and the experience they have within that organisation, they can pull upon for our officers to make a recommendation when if assuming that the motion gets up, is a good thing. So I also think that's we should speak to some of their expertise if that's possible.
Thank you. Right, would someone like to move standing orders be resumed? The meeting be resumed.
Yep.
Councillor Clewer, seconded Councillor Henderson. All in favour? Carried. Petitions and letters. Petitions. Number 1, traffic manager in Campbell Street Township. Any councillor wish to comment or introduce the matter? Councillor Henderson.
Certainly will. I think it's worth reading it out. We received a petition of 21st June from Campbell Street community members with 144 signatures requesting to make the 2 adjoining school zones in Main Road safer, with clearer signage and 3 sets of flashing amber lights, one set at either end of the school zones, one set between the 2 schools.
3 months.
3 months. No, I'm just started. To lower the speed limit from 68 kilometres per hour to 50 kilometres per hour through Campbell Street Township, except for the 40 kilometres per hour to school zones during school hours. And the third one is separate. Improve the safety of the confusing and hazardous intersection of Main Road and Price Road at the Firestone corner by replacing the 2 small traffic islands with a large roundabout, more easily accessible for those with disability aids and prayers. And the recommendation, which I'd like to move, do I move it now or do I ask a question first? I think maybe before I do.
Move it now if you wish.
Well, I think before I do.
We need a motion before you can ask a question.
No, I can ask a question any time.
Right, I'll ask the question.
So I will, but just to sort of enhance this debate, is to ask the Director of Infrastructure and Development, Mr. Anir, that this third point about there's a suggestion in the petition to replace the traffic islands with a large roundabout. What's involved in changing that intersection? Because council come along and build a roundabout there? Or is it necessarily a good idea to put a roundabout there? Do we have any thoughts? Does your department have any thoughts at this stage?
So thank you, Councillor Henderson. At this stage, I can confirm that for any actions to be undertaken at that intersection, we will need to be engaging with the Department of Transport, as the Department of Transport oversee the highway at that intersection. So the decision process will be undertaken with the Department of Transport to inform what may be suitable or possible at that intersection into the future. A proposal such as a roundabout is one option that will be considered. Other options to realign the intersection into a more traditional T structure could be another option. There are many different engineering opportunities that could be taking place from a road network perspective.
Thank you. Yes, certainly my experience of the roundabout in town means it's probably one of the worst places to cross, but that's because we've got 2 lanes either way, etc. I know roundabouts aren't friendly to pedestrians, but I can see there's very strong need for something to happen there. I don't go there that often, but every time I do, I'm confused and I regard it as hazardous. So, and we can only expect more traffic to come in as further developments happen. Down Blanket Gully Road, etc., down Price Road, which is a good thing, but means more traffic. So I think I'd like to ask further, Director Anea, we've got here a recommendation that we receive a report on this petition at the meeting of Council on the 20th of September. My feeling is that would not allow sufficient time for any meaningful discussion with the Department of Transport. It might just be a holding statement at that time. So when would be a better time to expect something concrete to come back to Council?
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Yes, if coming back to Council by the 20th of September, it will most likely be a holding statement and a process update. So we wouldn't be able to have enough time to adequately have those conversations and get an indication from the Department of Transport. It's more likely that in the new year and possibly back in the first meeting of the new year, 2023 would be a more likely time, given the level of work that the Department of Transport has on their books at this moment. I'd like to emphasise that that does not diminish, that timeframe does not diminish the importance that we note within this petition and the issues that are presented within it. And we will take actions immediately to follow up and have these conversations. But a more realistic timeframe would be in the new year.
Thank you. So we expect that, so this motion is to acknowledge the receipt of the petition and receive a report on this petition at the first meeting of Council in the new year, which will be in February 2023. And at that time, we'd expect that there's been a considerable amount of work done between your department and the Department of Transport, which I understand is in transition at the moment. Right, yes, we'll take a fair bit of time.
You're moving a motion.
Okay, so moving the motion, yes.
Just point of order.
Yes.
In terms of the our rules, isn't a requirement that we respond to the petition at the first council meeting?
But that's the,
How does that work?
well, it may be the recommendation that is currently here says council acknowledge receipt of the petition. So that will happen after tonight. And whatever else is added to it.
Yes, Mayor, I'll check with the governance officer, but from memory, I'm trying to find the provision, but it's within 2 meetings unless otherwise directed by council, which is the suggestion that you directed it had by the February meeting.
Thank you.
Acknowledge the petition.
Sorry, absolutely. Yes, but receive a report within by the February meeting, certainly in accordance with the local law, the governance rules. So.
Right, your motion, Councillor Henderson.
Okay, yeah, so we acknowledge the petition, receive the petition, very important petition, and receive a report on the petition at the meeting of Council in February 2023.
So a seconder, Councillor Anea. Any other council who wish to discuss the matter? Councillor Bristol.
I'd like to leave it at the 20th of September to get the officers on their ginger. I support that.
Fair enough.
I'm confused.
Very confused. Any other other councillor wish to make a comment on the motion? Councillor Cordy?
My concern is with the third dot point there that talks about improve the safety of the confusing and hazardous intersection. Now that intersection's been there for a long time. I don't find it confusing, and it's a lot of traffic goes through there. So
140.
yeah, okay, but to say it's confusing and hazardous, maybe there's concerns for some residents of the area, but I think it's a big call to say it's confusing and hazardous given the history of the intersection. Thank you.
I could give you a similar example as in Greenhill Avenue where it meets Barker Street before you get into Johnson Street, and a previous council, Vic Roads, whoever, closed access off on one lane, and that was the lane coming out of Greenhill Avenue, which is possibly what could happen here rather than a roundabout, I would suggest.
But those, you're preempting our outcome, but those points are from the petition. That's not an assessment by us or
somebody else.
That's someone's view.
Someone else will be doing an assessment, including Vic Roads or whatever they're called, Department of Transport. The other councillor wish to contribute? No, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. Oh, against, sorry. Councillor Driscoll against. You read the division. Righto. 7.2, petition again, the intersection of Silvermore Road and Malden Road, Mackenzie's Hill. Or Mackenzie Hill. Well, I'd be asking that question. Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. So council received a petition on the 7th of July 2022 from Mackenzie Hill community members with 15 signatures requesting to fix the intersection of Sawmill Road and Malden Road, Mackenzie Hill. And I'll just find that petition and read it out. To whom it may concern, we the residents living in Saw Hill Road and Melissa Court would like to raise our safety concerns and petition Mount Alexander Shire Council to fix the intersection of Sawmill Road and Malden Road, Mackenzie Hill. Sawmill Road is now a high traffic area and a shortcut for employees of Don KR Castlemaine to use to and from work, and staff and visitors to the Amicus Respite Centre in Melissa Court and McDonald's Honey. The road is getting busier and there have been several accidents over the past couple of years. We have been trying to get the intersection fixed for some time now, and they've got those signatures below that. So I would like to move a recommendation that council acknowledges receipt of the petition and receive a report on this petition at the meeting of council on the 20th of September 2022.
There a seconder to the motion? Councillor Gardner. Councillor Driscoll.
So,
Yeah, no, but he can speak.
so 20th September 22, I think council has enough time to do some work on that. Now, if that's a holding statement or whatever, so be it. But I think you need to keep the ball rolling with these things, in my opinion.
Right. Anybody wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Henderson.
If we can keep the ball rolling, all we've got to do is say do it, and it will be done. But it is quite a bit of work. It loads up another task on the staff who've got a lot of stuff to do, and I think it might just be a bit of a waste of time, given the important role will have to be to talk to the Department of Transport, engage them on this particular matter, separate to the Camden Creek one. Find someone who's, I've really no idea what the process is, but I know it's pretty complicated and technical. In this case, very different. Might end up telling everyone they've got to go down to Diamond Gully Road and then block off the exit to onto the highway at Sawmill Road, which might not be very popular, but I think that to say, can we have a report on the petition in September just means it's going to be, we're talking to the Department of Transport. So again, I'd suggest that we change the September to February 2023, when we might actually get something more substantial.
Right. Thanks, Councillor Henderson. Any other councillor wish to comment? Councillor McClure.
Only to support Councillor Henderson's view that I think September is too early and that we should give them a bit more time. We are talking about the Department of Transport involvement here with the highway. It's not a cancelled road, so those things don't happen overnight. I do believe it's too short a period of time when you've got to talk to organisations like the Department of Transport and even get a response from them in that period of time. I believe would be problematic. So I think it's too quick.
Councillor Gardner.
I understand what you're saying, but the motion is to receive a report. It's not to fix it. So I'm assuming if in September, at least we would get an update of what's going on at that point. Otherwise, it might just drift out till February and it'll fall off and never happen. At least in that report in September, it will say, we have contacted blah, 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 and this is what's happening when Kevin on it.
Right. Any other councillor? Director Anita, do you wish to make a comment? No? Good. All right, those are for the motion. 5, 6, those against? No? You're against?
No.
So you're 7. All in favour, carried. Right, 9.1 is the officers' report of proposed actions for annual plan 22-23. Councillor Werber, recommendation to introduce the matter.
The annual plan 2022-2023 contains priority projects outlined in the budget 2022-2023 and actions and projects identified in the various strategies and plans adopted by council that will deliver the strategic objectives contained in the council plan 2021 to 2025. I will move the recommendation that council 1 approves the annual plan 2022-2023 and 2 notes that a quarterly update on progress will be provided.
Second up. Councillor Cordy. Any discussion? Councillor Neal.
I for one, like the annual plans that we get and the updates that we get on the annual plan because it gives me a sense of what is happening throughout the year in real time. I think when we reflect back on a 4-year plan, it's often quite hard to see what has happened year to year. But having it brought to us, quarterly, we're able to see that we are chipping away at the council plan, even though sometimes it might not feel like we're making lots of progress. We're able to see which areas we're making progress in. Some of the projects that are highlights for me in the annual plan are the completion of the Campbell's Creek walking and cycling trail, otherwise known as the missing link, that has been missing for a very long time. Most of my life, I think I remember attending the very first Where is the Rest of Our Trail meeting when I was about 8. So it's been quite a while and that will be very exciting. We're also going to adopt a new walking and cycling strategy. For those of you who don't know, my mum doesn't drive, she walks everywhere. So for her, anything to do with walking around town is very appreciated. I'm an avid walker too, and I think it is something that the community has been pushing for quite some while. Both walkers, both pedestrians, and especially cyclists, getting some insight into what kind of cycling, stuff we need, I guess, around town, because as more and more people cycle, we need more assets for them to cycle on, I guess. Another one for me is addressing the climate emergency. And to do this, our next step in this direction is to adopt a 10-year climate strategy, which I'm quite excited about. The last one that I'd like to pick out is the Disability Action Plan, which before has kind of been part of our annual plan, our 4-year plan, our council plan, and this time is going to be its own standalone document. So I'm really excited to see that happen as well. Oh, and so I almost forgot, both our early years and our middle years plans are running out. Early years ends this year and middle years ends in 2023. So we'll be doing new early years and middle years plans as well. Early years is for children from 0 to 8 and their families and carers and communities. And middle years is that gap that is usually missed, which is the 8 to 12-year-olds. I sit on both of those working groups, and it does a lot of really great work. So I'm really excited to be a part of both of those new plans as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Neal. Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to acknowledge the work of Director Lisa Knight and Executive Manager Corporate Services Carol Ross and their team for putting together the plan. There's a lot of work goes into it, but you've got a plan for success. So well done to all those involved in the planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to comment? Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to reiterate Councillor Neal's thoughts about this plan. It keeps us up to date. And just some of the things that we're going to do in this period is the affordable housing, investigate options for affordable housing in the Shire, and also I'm probably going to steal Councillor Henderson's thunder here, but we're also commencing the construction of the long Toledo Road Little Bridge. So this gives a good snapshot of things we're doing in the next years. So it keeps everybody honest.
Thanks, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Henderson.
You can't claim that one. She's been banging on about it for years.
Thank you. Thank you.
At least I got the ward councillor on side. Yay! It's in this ward.
That's it.
I know. Of course, it's top of my list. I'm so happy to see that there. That was a bridge that the local community wouldn't let us replace. And it's taken 10 years. So it was our bridge was doing fine until a car wheel went through the deck, and then we had to close it. I hate to say that Bruce Road is not in that category yet. It was a much bigger bridge in that. It's actually a gold era bridge. We're going to rebuild the website. That's really good. It's never going to be perfect, but heck, we can do a lot better than what we've got. And it's the China, I think we've got the team in place to oversee that. Really happy with that. Levy building. I think I'm the only person in this room that watched the Four Corners report on the floods in New South Wales. It was devastating, especially the floodplain in Penrith to the west of Sydney and the large-scale developments that have been allowed to happen in the floodplain on a scale that we can't imagine in our little Shire. I've got to tell you what, I'm very proud that in this Shire we have floodplain plans. We are building the second stage, I think, of our levees, where we know the creeks through town flood. And we've also have in place already flood overlays for many land that does flood, or it flooded in 2012, which is the biggest flood you've seen maybe ever in white settlement time in this town. Anyway, apart from that, what do we have? Last recycling trial, something the state government mandating, and that'll be exciting. I think a lot of people who are trying to do the right thing with their waste will be pleased to see that that's coming in. So there's going to be a trial. We'll see how it goes. I think very well subscribed. And I want to say something cheeky and say, well, we're going to develop a public art policy. I wonder if we can roll something about a graffiti policy into it, because we've got an awful lot of it at the moment. And I know we're talking to the police about it, and we clean our own buildings when we can, but the rest of the place is, yes, we've certainly got an epidemic at the moment. So public art, but this is not public art. All taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. 9.21. Awarding contract M161921 for Castlemaine landfill construction. Landfill cap. That's going to pull it take the room. Councillor Cordy.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I'd like to introduce this item. The Castlemaine landfill is an EPA licensed landfill. We know as the TIP, and it consists of 7 cells. And the site actually ceased taking waste or storing waste on site in 2020, and the collected waste is now
processed off-site. EPA regulations for licensed landfills require operators to rehabilitate and continue to manage sites after closure. So the Castlemaine Landfill Cell Cap project, as this project, is focused on capping the remaining 4 cells, connection to the 3 cap cells. The design of the Castlemaine Landfill Cell Cap has been prepared by consultants Mackenzie Environmental and approved by the EPA. And there's been a huge process here. I'd just like to note that this is a very important project. It's probably perhaps one of the largest projects that Mount Alexander Shire Council has ever undertaken. But certainly I'd like to acknowledge the work of our staff and directors and engineers and technical people and procurement, and all working together as a team for this very significant project. The public tender was advertised from 9th of April 2022 and it closed on the 19th of May 2022 with three conforming tenders, and the tenders have been through a rigorous evaluation process. And it's a huge amount of work by our staff. But one of the things, this project has been talked about the whole time I've been on council. Over 8 years, we've been talking about the cell capping project. And I think there's a couple of important things that I would mention. One is that this project is fully funded from the council's waste reserve. And so it's not just this council, but it's all of the councils that have gone before us since the Mount Alexander Shire was actually created have put money aside and established this waste reserve for doing this very work that we're about to undertake. And I think it really demonstrates high quality planning by successive councils, and this council, the councillors around the table working together with our executive staff and all of our managers, working together as a team, we're going to deliver this very important project. And in the information provided, there's how the tender's assessed, and it's a rigorous process, but yeah, so huge project, and it'll be good to see this brought to fruition. But the important thing to remember is that it's already funded and through our waste reserve. So well done to all the team that put the documents together and are going to follow this project through.
Motion.
Yes, I'd like to move the motion as printed. Thank you, Mayor.
Second, Councillor Henderson. Any discussion?
Well, I think, yes, it is. It's big. It's huge. $7.5 million is definitely the biggest project I've seen. It's been sitting there, and look, I have to acknowledge the work of our CEO in all this. The CEO came to us with a lot of experience in dealing with the landfill from the city of Greater Bendigo. And at first, I think the powers that be above council were insisting that we do some very fancy work over the whole of the landfill, including cells that have been sitting there capped in some way for a number of years. And it has taken our CEO a long time, up till not that long ago, to negotiate with the powers that be, to persuade them that in fact what they were asking for, which would have cost us probably at least twice as much, in fact was not necessary. And in fact we do the work according to the quality and the age of what is already there. So that the most recent cells have to get full treatment, the old cells not so much. Am I right, CEO? And that was not an easy process, but using his expertise, using his contacts, using his persistence and endurance, we're now at the point where we can afford this. We have the money in the bank. Yes, Councillor Cordy, you did right. Successive councillors have put away money from or people pay for their waste collections. Part of that has gone into the waste reserve, and it's being spent on a requirement. We would be, we have to do it, but now we're finally doing it in a way that's reasonable. And the process is very expensive, so we have external contractors involved in overseeing it as well, to make sure that we have the full expertise involved in not only awarding the tender, but in executing, seeing that tender executed correctly by the contractor. So I'm confident that we have everything we need in place for a good result. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Councillor McClure back. Thank you. Councillor McClure, the recommendation of the officers was carried. 9.3, there is nothing on the economy. 10, any delegates reports? No delegates reports, good. Oh, that's us, so I don't.
Go first. Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Anderson, for those comments before. I certainly appreciate it. I'd also say we had a lot of local support from the EPA to get to that position as well. So Scott Picton and his team that we worked closely with on a lot of matters was essential in getting that very sensible risk-based approach to the treatment that finally ended up, or will end up on our landfill happening. So a big thanks to him and his team and many staff in the our organisation who helped negotiate that outcome as well. So thank you very much for acknowledging that effort of us. A couple from me, councillors, you've got our report, the Mayor's and my report from 22nd June through to today. A couple I'd pick up on. Mayor, we did get to meet with Lisa Chester's MP recently to talk about a variety of matters of priority for this council as part of her going up to Canberra. She's been saying quite a bit, I'm going up to Canberra this time and I'm in the right side of government here to be able to get things to happen. So she wanted to make sure that she had a good list of things to be working on for us, as well as other areas in her electorate. It was great to talk with her about things like the Black Spot program, where that's at. And as you all know, that project on Fogarty Gap Road, the second phase of that project, we're very hopeful to get Black Spot funding. Lisa was able to say not only will she be following that up when she goes to Canberra, she's already done that with the new Minister for Roads and is pursuing that strongly for us. So good luck to us, good luck to her on that one. We talked a lot about housing there with Lisa. She's clearly very passionate about that as a subject as well, and talked a lot with her, making sure that the government's thinking about how do they, in whatever scenarios they have, they're thinking about what's the regional and rural, not only solution, but opportunity to be part of the solutions. Not only how do you fix it for our people, but how can we be part of a bigger response to the challenge across the whole country. So Lisa very much understands that need. We talked about aged care services, which is obviously something that this council is extremely interested in seeing a good resolution for our community for, like many others are, and Lisa shares that strong desire as well. We made sure that she didn't leave without knowing the importance of the Camp Reserve and the Campbell's Creek Recreation Reserve facilities in your list of priority projects, and we may have talked about swimming pools and other things as well, Councillor and you. So that was a great meeting with Lisa, and no doubt she'll be advocating strongly for us in Canberra, with a few more doors open perhaps than what she's used to as well. The other one I was going to mention, we did meet with, and this is a really great commitment of our local partners in RDV and DELP councils. The third item on the list there, where we met with senior members of RDB, senior members of DELP locally, who have not only given their own time, but their staff's time, as well as funding, to try to work through what are all the reasons why things like Eddy Street, which is Crown land, can't be unlocked to be used for housing of one sort or another. It's a very challenging thing to get through that, releasing Crown land for a different purpose to what it was put there for. DELP and RDB locally are very much trying to help us find a way through that, with Eddy Street being the example, but ultimately we all hope could be the example for the whole state in how to get it done. So just can't thank them enough for the commitment that they've made to helping us do that. The last one I'll just mention is it's been getting a bit of airplay. I know it was the launch mayor that we went to, and you featured in many photos along with the mayor of City of Greater Bendigo, was launching our bid for mountain bike riding to be held at, well, first of all, to be held at the Commonwealth Games, because they're not included yet. And secondly, if they are held, to have them at La La Begower, the mountain bike park in Harcourt that we all know and love. So we will keep pushing for that one. As you would all know, that's been incredibly successful in its first year. It's hard to say how it's been going the last couple of years with the impacts of COVID, but in its first 12 months, it had more than 30,000 people visited that site, were recorded as visiting that site. It was 6,000 more than was expected in the business case to choose to invest in. So fantastic start. Brought about $1.6 million to the local economy. Not nothing for us. And we think it's very much, from our point of view, why wouldn't you want to do it there? Because it is a world-class facility that handles national level events already. Why can't it handle an international level event is what we would suggest. So a big thanks to the City of Greater Bendigo, who's really got in behind this initiative. They've already got the common games secured there, and they're trying to help out the rest of the region, as they always do. So we'll see how that goes. We've got a long way to go. A couple of other acknowledgements on that, Mayor. The local committee of management to DELP for the mountain bike park have been fantastic, very passionate about it. In particular, Nick Byrne, who's a local and a member of that group, has done a lot of work to prepare the expression of interest that was ultimately submitted. That was submitted on behalf of not only Mount Alexander Shire, but also on behalf of Jar Jar Run, who is the joint lead partner in that expression of interest, with fantastic support from Rodney Carter, CEO of Jar Jar Run. So got a little while to wait. I understand from the City of Greater Bendigo, they think we might know if it's an end in the games by the end of this calendar year, and how long it might take for them to determine the site after that. We're not sure yet, but if we get past step number one, we'll certainly be pushing for step number two to be in Harcourt.
Thanks, Darren. And you're correct, working with the Greater City of Bendigo is been successful, but it's important as well in working with all my neighbouring shires. I'll just mention one function I attended out of several there, but it was the launch of the Castlemaine Safe Place last Friday afternoon. And they've arranged to have two venues weekly for people that need some assistance, who maybe just need to talk about life's issues, etc. And certainly they've got a very good program and a very good body organising the functions. They meet, or the safe place is available for chatting, for want of a better term, at the Senior Citizens Hall on a Tuesday, 6:30 to 8 p.m, and the first one is tonight. Or the Salvation Army Hall on a Saturday at 1:30 to 4 o'clock. And it's very welcoming, very pleasant. And if people need some assistance about private issues, about medical or whatever, that they feel they need to chat to somebody that's got a bit of training, when perhaps not a professional as such, but there is an opening, and now there is a place to go. There's an Australia-wide thing this is part of. And these people are doing a good job. There's no question about that. Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
I just want to point out a couple of things in delegates, the CEO's report and the Mayor's report. This is a month of meetings and there's at least 7 meetings there on affordable housing. So before I put my notice of motion, which is the next item, I just want to get a bit of colour around this in terms of how serious this council and the CEO is in trying to find help find a solution to the housing crisis situation. But I just want to read out some of the meetings that the CEO attended. Attended Homes Victoria Social and Affordable Housing Forum with Claire Richards, who's our housing solutions broker. They attended a meeting with the Department of Treasury and Finance and Haven Home State representatives to discuss potential development of land for affordable housing at Mount Alexander. And also met with representatives from various state governments, departments to discuss affordable housing at Eddie Street, as Darren mentioned, and also met with our very own representative from My Home Network, which Kaz is sitting in the audience to discuss affordable housing. So I just want to put a bit of colour around that this council, the CEO and also the officers I know are very passionate about trying to help with this solution. So before we vote on my motion, I wanted to say, council, is that the executive has been very passionate about this. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Mayor.
First, I'd just like to expand on what Councillor Driscoll said. And I think what is great is that we're not just looking for one solution, that the net there is quite wide. I think initially I was a bit concerned that, we might put all our eggs in one basket and kind of go, this is the thing that will be the solution that will fix, the affordable housing crisis. But the fact that there's so many different areas that that council is looking into is quite encouraging, I think, because surely a couple of those have to work out. If we keep looking in all these different places, some things will come to fruition. And I think that is really encouraging. So thank you for that. I would also like to ask the CEO about one of the items, a meeting with representatives from Don KR to discuss worker transport projects, please.
Sure, thanks, Councillor. So the background to that project, obviously Don KR is a very significant employer, not only in our shire, it's actually, my understanding is it's the biggest privately owned employer in regional Victoria. It's significant.
That's correct.
So they are experiencing challenges like a lot of people with having enough people to keep the work going as well. And it is, again, related back to housing in many ways too, but it's cost of living challenges as well. And their workforce is far from, in volume, what they want and need it to be. So this project is us assisting them to get state government funding to undertake a different way of trying to get their employees to work and home again, which has got lots of side benefits as well. So it's an initiative that'll run for about 12 weeks to look at and recognising, of course, that about 50% or so of the employees put on KR live in Bendigo, not
it's something probably like 60% move out of Mount Alexander Shire.
Correct. And about 50 of those, 50% in total of the total workforce, which is 1,400, 1,500 thereabouts, live in Bendigo. Many of those people are feeling significant cost of living pressures at the moment and having to make choices between can I afford to drive to work, like many people who we're hearing about in our shire and who Kaz is with today can attest to as well. There's some big challenges there. So this is trying to say, well, how do we get employees to their jobs so that they can make money and support their families and themselves, and at the same time support a major employer in our shire. So really pleased to be involved in facilitating that happening, which is a state government grant to Don KR through ourselves to be able to put on buses, a couple of buses, to get employees, particularly from Bendigo, into Don KR. It is a 12-week trial, as I say, and we'll see how much benefit they get from that, how much benefit the employees get from that. But that's what that's about.
Right, any other questions? All right, so we'll go to agenda item 11. 11.1, notice of motion 2022-01. Review of Mount Alexander Shire Local Law 13, camping on private property. Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. Just like to say a bit of background there. As we've actually alluded to just prior, we have a crisis situation in homelessness in our shire, as many other shires in the country have. Our community have told us that they're concerned about housing affordability in our shire, and as it's one of our key objectives for the next 4 years, as outlined in our 2021-22 council plan. So we're serious about it, and we're trying to find a solution or solutions for this. So to that front, and to help us identify opportunities for boosting affordable housing in our shire, we appointed our Claire Richards, who's our housing solutions broker. Since her appointment, Claire has been meeting with community groups and other key stakeholders to get an understanding of issues around affordable long-term housing for low and middle income households here in the shire. And she's also been working, and other officers have been working in partnership with Regional Community Housing Association and providers. Housing affordability is important and impacts everyone because it means our elders and young people and those who provide fundamental and essential services can actually stay in our community. And it's also about having homes for rent or purchase available for low to moderate income households as a percentage of their incomes that allows them to meet their essential living costs and is sustainable in the long term. And when you have approximately 600 households in our shire with unmet need for affordable housing. So this motion that I'm about to introduce and hopefully be supported by other councillors, it's not a panacea. There is no panacea in my opinion, but it may help with the situation. It's going to take a while, but I feel as if small steps such as this, it might just solve, get some people in a better situation that they're currently in. So the motion I'd like to move is that council will request council officers to assess and make recommendations on the use of caravans or tiny houses as places of temporary residence through review of the Mount Alexander Shire Council Local Law 13, which is camping on private property, and provide advice on their requirement within the Mount Alexander Shire Council planning scheme by the end of August 2022.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gardner. Anyone?
Can I just ask, because maybe I need to ask Councillor Driscoll about this. This is about camping on private property. Maybe I need to involve Councillor Gardner. There are tiny houses and there are tiny houses on wheels. Tiny houses on wheels are transportable and therefore can be regarded as, they can be moved on and off land, whereas a tiny house without wheels presumably is much more of a permanent structure once it's plonked down somewhere. So do we want it to be on all tiny houses or tiny houses on wheels?
Actually, my motion is tiny houses on wheels, but also if you can incorporate tiny houses as you've suggested. But that's why I want this reviewed, see what we can and what we can't do, including both.
Councillor Nia.
I think, obviously this is something that many people in the community feel very strongly about. And I think, this happened before the life of this council. So having the context that we don't have currently is going to make a huge difference. I don't fully understand what the local law says right now. And it seems like a lot of people don't fully understand what the local law says right now. I know there was a huge amount of talking about it just before we all got elected, but really nothing since. So I think it's very timely to bring it back now that we're all kind of settled in. We know what we're doing, to look at the context and the history of this issue. And in this new climate, like, there wasn't such of a crisis a few years ago. Whereas now, you know, things are really bad out there. There are lots of people who just have nowhere to live. And, you know, families as well, and older people. Like, this could make such a big difference, I feel like. But I don't know enough about it, which is why having this report, having this context is going to make such a huge difference to me.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to comment?
Well, rather than ask a question, I will comment and say that I fully support this. I was very disappointed with the outcome of local law 13 when it finally came to us with polished off form, and because we were adopting a whole suite of local laws, it was the new local law package. It was technically not possible to go and vary it after we've been through a whole process. But anyway, so this is great, and I'm really pleased that the officers are saying that they can meet the timeline nominated and will give us a response. Councillor Leah, it's got much worse since we last, so it is a crisis, and I think the time is now. We should do it.
Thank you.
Councillor Driscoll. Yes, sure.
Anyone else? Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. So my understanding that just before we came as a council was August 2020, you improved the law, but I just felt it didn't go far enough. And because it was bunched up together with a bunch of other laws, I think to a certain extent it got not necessarily missed, but it was part of everything else. I was trying to be specific here, say, okay, let's try and do something about that. This, and in my opinion, to get a lot longer term, if possible, but that's the next decision. And I asked officers where they're researching this to definitely go back to the expertise within the My Home network. And we have a couple of tiny house manufacturers right here in our shire who actually know what they're doing. And if we can tap into that, I think that's a great thing. And also there are a number of shires in Victoria who have dealt with this. And if we could look at those shires and what they have done, one of the ones that come to mind, I think it's Yarra, who basically said, in terms of law, is that you can have a tiny house on private property if you have permission from the owner, as long as you don't become a nuisance or something like that. So it's termed, they turn the law on its head, so that don't necessarily say you got to do this, you got to do that. You can do these things, but don't become a nuisance. But that's not for me to decide here. I'm just trying to say to officers, please, when you do bring it back to us, if you do your research and tap into the networks we have here, because it's really important in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. Those in favour of the motion? That's carried. That brings us. Thank you. That brings us to the close of the meeting, as there's no other items. Thank you for your attendance and participation.